What do you think, Ananya?
No, I agree. I was muted. I was eating chocolate. Sorry.
This person. Anyway,
I'll never be a millionaire. Whoa, boom, boom, and zoom. I'm in love, I'm in love.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Brownian Notion. I am Ananya.
and I'm Gogol. Joining me today is my dear friend and now a producer of the show, Anna Costa. We're very happy to have her back. We're very happy to have you back, Anna, because you were a lovely guest the last time. Now, I guess you're not a guest anymore, but yeah, we're always happy to have you on the show and have a lovely discussion. So, what are we exactly talking about today?
Yeah, so today we are talking about millennials, I guess, again.
Yeah.
But this kind of feeling that we are stuck in Neverland, or it's called, and we are forever Peter Pan. It's like we are
Hmm.
not growing up, but are we? I don't know. It's just something like this.
So I have a recurring joke that I've probably told you like 1,000 times as well, that I identify as a 23-year-old. Maybe not 23 anymore, maybe 24.
Yeah, you sound like you're like 40, like you're not that far from 24, actually.
Yeah,
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 that's
I was
true.
gonna say.
Yeah, so I think my motivation here is that so this term adulting become very popular, right?
Right.
It's like whenever we do something that we feel like, oh my God, we are adults now, like we pay our bills, yay.
Yeah.
But then I think it's interesting, maybe even more to talk about what does not make us feel like adults. What are those moments that
Right.
for some reason make us feel like child still?
Right. So this is something I think I've also discussed with you in details. If I think about what my parents were doing in my age, and I think you also have the same thing, it just feels like we are so far away, based upon, of course, this understanding of progress in life. That understanding is also maybe a bit outdated, but like now I'm 30, right? And I was talking to my mom the other day, and she had me when she was 30, and I can find two matching socks to wear on a day. And then I'm like, how did they manage? So I think that is one of the major reasons why we feel so disconnected from our ages, so to say.
Yeah.
Do you want to come in on that, Ananya?
So the thing is, I was reading up about this, and I just want to establish that we're talking about the Peter Pan syndrome, which I know many people associate with just men who cannot commit to their partners or girlfriends or something. And whenever I read about it, and I just read, I guess, the first thing that comes up on Google, there's a research article about it, and when it was established, etc. I just related to everything, that not only do you not want to commit, but you had overprotective parents, and so you just don't want to get out of adolescence anymore. And it was bizarre. I have never related to something so much.
So if you look at the whole of population, maybe men do suffer from it more, but it's not a specifically issue with men, I guess. I mean,
No, not
now,
anymore. I
yeah.
don't think so.
Yeah. So, what is it that makes you feel disconnected from your age, so to say, Bana?
Oh, that's a good question. So I think you need to get a bit of my background. So I come from a more what people would consider a bit conservative family, but not really.
Hmm.
Just the values were a bit outdated even for the time.
Right.
So I think the point is that when I was a child, I got this narrative of what should be my life. And it's a good
Hmm.
narrative. You get a family, you get a job, and all of this. And as a child, I really bought into it because, yeah, again, I see my parents, they are happy. I see my family, they are satisfied. But then the world changed so much.
Right.
So when I got to be young adult, all these possibilities were open to me that were not open back then to my parents,
Right. Yeah.
even less to my grandparents, right?
Yeah.
So I'm faced with this world that is completely different from what my family faced before. And, it's really hard to have these two visions together, like at least for me. So, by now I should be married, have kids, be in a stable job, paying my first house and car.
Yeah.
And I just somehow I'm not doing any of that. I think it's like this mismatch between what you expect or what you expected as a child to be happening when you're 30 and what is actually happening now. So, and
Right.
sometimes you have this, yeah.
But a lot of times these expectations are not really yours. It's just a societal expectation. It's you are not
Yeah.
expecting them. You're just taught to expect. You're just taught that by 30 you should expect these things from you. They are not necessarily your expectations. But coming to that, nowadays, because of medical science and everything, we are also living a lot longer, right? So I think people, especially like 2 or 3 generations before us, they didn't used to live so much. So I sometimes feel that, like, because we know that in a general sense people would live longer now than say 40 years ago, or say even before that. So do you think that has changed the perception of the ages as well? For example, women had that pressure. If they wanted to have babies, they had to have it before a certain age. But now, because of medical science, they can have babies much later, right? So do you think that has also kind of skewed with, not skewed, but screwed with our expectations?
Yeah, definitely, right? So now you have a bigger window to do a lot of things,
Yeah.
right? And I think what a lot of people realized as well, so by watching their parents, is that they were putting their life on hold to, I know, raise their kids, and then they
Hmm.
were waiting for retirement to finally
Right.
leave, right?
Right.
So there is all of these notion, like how time is perceived by you. Now I think is quite different.
Yeah, one more thing that I thought of is previously, I feel for our parents or even the generation between us and our parents, the norm is, like you said, get married, have kids, have a car by a certain age. And now, our generation, more and more people are making the choice not to do that. And so, you're finding this little community amongst millennials and Gen Z who are straying from the norm, and it
Right.
is okay not to have kids at all. Like, for example, I always thought I have to have kids, and off late, I'm just thinking that maybe I would rather have just pets and
Mhm.
live that way. And that has become acceptable, a little more acceptable than before. So I feel like that childhood situation in our head is not really changing. We are just staying in our comfort zone as much as we can. And we are also that generation, right, who started earning when the Great Recession happened. Then we have been through a pandemic. It's just so many stressful situations have happened during our lifetimes that we are probably choosing ourselves over other things that we are supposed to do.
Yeah, sorry. I just think you raise a very good point there because with my parents, there was more like they felt like they could control more. Like they
Right.
got a job in this factory and they are working there since always.
Right.
And then when I start to get into the workplace, everything is chaotic. You cannot control anything.
Right. Yeah.
So maybe then it's harder to leave your comfort zone as well.
Yeah, so our generation, I feel, we have seen the society change so much around us that the generation gap that we have with our parents is much larger than what they had with their parents. So I think that is kind of hitting us a bit more because of that. I feel the society around us has changed so fast that it has kind of made us look at life very differently than what our parents would. And that change is much, much bigger than what they faced with their parents. Things didn't
Yeah,
change so fast at that point, I guess.
the financial crises that we have seen, they probably hadn't. They were this generation of abundance, that you do these things right, you will have a lot of money. I feel like we also face more competition in the market, and just to get to the stage where they were financially, it was just longer or harder for us for certain fields, I guess, not every field. And we are just not there yet, mentally, financially, physically, to just start having a family or establish ourselves and settle. We probably don't believe in settling so easily, right? Like, so many of us are away from home, some
Yeah,
of us are coming back, but we don't know if we are going to be in that one place forever.
right.
That's definitely an obstacle in taking these major life decisions, where you're like, this is where I want to have a family and like 15 kids or something. So
This is a very interesting point to bring out, but there's one thing that I don't completely agree with. I think that even though there was a lot of abundance of other things, but at least say in India, right, there was a lot of problems before the economy opened up, before 91. So even though there were some things that were probably more in abundance, but there was a lot of more hardships as well. Even with, like, say, healthcare, we have a lot at offer that our parents simply didn't have. It's just that I feel like, at least for my parents, when they decided to have me, for example, I feel that it wasn't that they felt they were very settled. It was just that they felt that that was the right thing to do at that point.
Yeah, they
Even
made
if,
it work, right?
yeah, they made it
That's
work. It
what my
was,
mom says all the time.
yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't like they had
Yeah.
like abundance of money and they didn't know what else to do, so they had me. It wasn't like that at all. So,
It was like conscious decision to
yeah,
commit to that. Yeah.
exactly.
Even my dad actually did move around quite a lot, but they had me regardless. So I guess it
Yeah,
is just, I don't want to say mental block. I feel like that will trivialize our problems. But yeah, I don't think they thought so much that, oh, yeah, we are moving around so much. We should have a kid regardless. And I changed like 6 schools before I had turned 7
right.
or something. That
Yeah,
didn't bother them. I guess if I have a kid and I'm moving around with the kid so much, I will be very stressed thinking that, oh, she will change so many schools. I don't want her to go through what I went through.
yeah,
And like,
Yeah.
maybe we think too much. I don't know.
I think we are overflown with information. I have
Oh,
like the
yeah.
perfect
Yeah.
example in this case of Peter Pan with this. So when I moved to Lisbon and I finally got a job as a software developer, not very well paid. So it was right in the middle of the crisis. So it was, I just had money to go by the month. And
right,
then, but then my mom was like, okay, so now you have a job. So when are you going to buy a car? Because in Portugal, car is a big thing. You know, the public
right.
transport is not so good. Although I was in Lisbon and the public transport is okay, I didn't really need a car. And I was like, I just get a bicycle, right? Because think about it economically, the environment, and then we have all of these in our head. All the decisions have all of these like weights and consequences. Like, oh, if I have a kid, you know, I gotta be stable, like as you're saying, right? Because
Yeah,
I cannot be moving around. I
yes,
cannot get a car
Yeah.
because of the global warming. I cannot we have like all of this information completely overflowing our decision making, I think.
Anna, you're just saying basically that we think too much. We have so much information that we can actually take such a conscious decision that we end up just postponing it or taking a decision of not doing those things at all.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's kind of a bit like that. What I think is that this made me more crucial for
hmm,
millennials because we
yeah,
were really the transition. So when I was growing up, I only started to have a really strong connection with the internet in my high school, right? So all of these learning how to deal with all this information coming to you and how to adapt my beliefs, how to adapt my way of being, it just came so late that my brain somehow cannot really deal with it very well.
yeah,
And of course, the best way to deal is then to not make any decision at all.
yes. Just see it
Not
later.
best. It's like a way, a coping
Yeah,
mechanism.
yeah,
So I think that's paralyzing millennials.
yeah.
And I think for the newer generations, I kind of already see that they have better ways to deal with this.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's true. Like, my sister is probably not technically a Gen Z, but she's somewhere in that bracket. And I feel like she deals with the abundance of information and, I don't know, the new iPhone on the block and the need to buy things and stuff. And all of those things, she just handles everything better because she was already born into this.
Yeah.
We kind of saw the rise of the internet, and maybe it is still very new for us, so we are struggling about it. I don't know.
I'm really curious to know in what way is she handling this better. I really want to know because I want to do that as well, right?
It's just,
So,
the thing is, it's just her perspective about things,
okay,
like, for example, she's very stressed right now. She's applying to universities for her PhD and stuff.
right.
And she has taken a couple of gap years here and there. And she was not very chill about it. I wouldn't say she was chill about it, but she just handled it better. On the other hand, whenever I have to do something like this, like taking a break, I just go to pieces,
Hmm.
or I will obsess so much about what others will think. And even the boomers do that, right? Even my
Yeah.
mom does that. Like, what will people think? Any decision, what will people think? She's more like, yeah, she couldn't care less. The internet is for information and entertainment, and that's it. You don't look at it as something you have to emulate, or you want a piece of something in your life just because somebody else has it. Like, I feel like she's just more grounded than me, if that makes more sense.
Hmm.
And I am not. And it might just be a difference of personalities, but I have seen that happen with her Friends also, like they just handle things a lot better than my friends. I don't know if she has better friends. Yeah,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we needed to adapt too fast, you know.
Yes.
So we
exactly.
are
Yes.
just
Yeah,
coming to adulthood and there is the crisis. And then, the global warming really hits. And then we get all of this information, like we need to adapt fast our lifestyle. We need to find ways to not use a car or to, for me, very big struggle, change to more vegetarian diet. We are like overflown with
Right.
tons of lifestyle changes,
yeah,
while I
Yes.
think they were already kind of having those changes while they were growing,
yeah.
so
Exactly. Yeah.
Even
So
when the pandemic hit, she was just like, okay, one day at a time. Like, it's not like she eased into it very easily. But my first reaction was panic. Panic, 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 panic. She was like, let's meditate, let's do this. I'm like, how are you okay with this? But yeah.
yeah, so like Anna said, when we were growing up, there was no internet, right? Then we were kind of phased into the whole concept of internet, the concept of getting like information at your fingertips all the time, always. And then the whole social media experiment started on us. We are
yeah.
basically living that experiment, right? None of the generations before us has done that. So we are still trying to figure out what best to do, how much to share, how much not to share, how much validation seeking is kind
Yeah.
of okay. And this is not something that we grew up with. We had to get into it after we were kind of almost teenagers or something.
I will
So
say young adults, really,
yeah.
because I think I got to Facebook when I was like 18 or something.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Yeah, I think I was something like that, 15, 16 or something. But yeah, so I,
I
I,
feel like
I
what technology was to boomers is social media for us. We are still learning it.
somehow I feel we kind of have the worst of the both worlds. We have the anxieties of the boomers, and we
yes.
still do not
Yes.
really get what to do with
Yeah.
all this.
Yeah, that's
Like
exactly
Gen
that's
Z could not care less. They could not
Yeah,
care less about the anxiety of the boomers. Those people
yes.
are too far away for them.
It's like we were raised with the brain of a boomer
yeah,
and
Yes.
then throw as young adults into this
eh,
madness.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
I
and
mean, I see it in my own family, right? The way I was raised, my sister was raised very differently because I acted like a buffer. So she would not take
Mhm.
up every anxiety from my parents.
hmm.
That itself is a huge advantage that I didn't have.
Right. But yeah, this is really funny. But
Yeah, so that's why I say we are kind of stuck. We are
Stuck.
not Peter
Yep.
Pan really by choice.
yes,
It's like
that's true.
we actually
Yeah.
kind of don't want to be, but it's not really clear what growing up means to us.
Yeah.
You
Yes,
know?
exactly. Like, if doing those things would make us grown up, then we would do it probably. It's not that easy. We all have jobs, right?
Yeah.
But it's not like paying your bills makes you feel like a grown up. Even if you grow a beard that I have and like try to look like all adult, but sometimes I still doubt myself. Even if you grow up and then you start paying your bills, you have a job and everything, the imposter syndrome in you just keeps creeping back, and you're like, do these people around me know that I'm not really an adult? I'm just like pretending to be. So I don't know. I don't know if this happened also with our parents, because probably they also felt some sort of the same thing. I don't know. But I feel that all the time. Like, do people around me know really that I'm not really an adult? I'm pretending to be one.
No, I feel like the similarity between the boomers and Gen Z is they don't think, they do.
Right.
Think so much
We
about
think a
every
lot.
little decision. Like I was telling you right before this conversation about how much I'm thinking about just moving to India with my cat. She's not even a child. I am losing
Oh,
my mind.
but she is a child.
For me, she
I.
is my child, yeah, and she's
She's
like
a child.
completely dependent on me, right?
Of course,
Yeah,
she's a
I
child.
feel you. I feel you.
Yeah.
I
Except
really
I was
miss my
not allowed
cats.
to bite my parents.
Okay. Were you
What?
not?
Were you not? Yeah, exactly. You shouldn't. You should be allowed to bite your parents, I feel.
Imagine if that's our intro. I was not allowed to bite
It
my
should
parents. Am I
should
wrong?
definitely.
should be allowed to bite our
Bite
parents.
your
You
parents.
know, and Nani is always so chill and so, she has her, and then she's just talking about biting her parents. I gotta listen to this podcast.
uh, Parenting 101. Let your kids bite you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Tanya bit me. Oh my God, she will
Yeah.
kill me. I have to
Of
take it out.
course.
I bit people as well, but
You
when
bit
I was
people? She
Is
bit
this an
one
Indian
person.
thing?
We're not advocating biting her.
Because just yesterday I got to know one of my, Indian friends here. She kind of beat people some years ago.
Oh my God.
Is it this
What is
thing?
going on with
This
Indians?
is an Indian thing. No, I think like for me growing up, when I would be like very annoyed and I couldn't say that I'm very annoyed with somebody, I would bite them.
Oh my
That
Oh
would
my
be
God.
my
God.
like,
That
yeah.
is officially going to be the title of this podcast. We bite
No.
people.
Deva bites people.
They were- oh my God.
But this was when I was very small. I couldn't probably even say anything, so I just bit them. But anyway, Anna, let me ask you this. We were both working at some point, right? I was also working in India and kind of in a good company, and people were happy about it. And then when I quit and I told them that, yeah, I wanted to study more, I want to travel to Europe, I want to see more of the world, a lot of people in my family and like family friends, they were a bit concerned about it. They were like, why are you leaving a very good job and running away somewhere else where you do not know what will happen, if you'll even find a job or not? What's the point of it? I feel like that is also a way how we moved away from the traditional path that was kind of set out by our parents or by the society, and then we tried to make our own paths and kind of got tangled in it a bit. I mean, it's very good in a way, but also 1% of it contributes to the whole confusion. Do you feel the same way, or?
Yes, yes. So we have, in a way, very similar stories. So I was working as software developer in Portugal, again, in a very good company. I
Right.
was rising in the company and
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah,
this. But I really love computer science.
yeah,
It's a passion.
yeah,
And I was always thinking, I want to go back to study. I only had the bachelor's, I want to do my master's. Being in Portugal was not really a possibility because, my parents could not really support me. So I needed to find somewhere where I could get a scholarship. So I
right.
had to move abroad. And
Mm.
of course, I have to pitch this idea to my parents, and yeah, so I had to explain to them that I'm kind of not following the traditional path.
Right.
I'm not going for the career, boyfriend, and kids, at least not for now. And I'm moving abroad, and I'll be studying again. And I think this came a bit, not really as a shock because they know me, right?
Yeah,
But it came a bit like there was a bitter sweetness to it for them because they were really happy that I was following what I really love, but at the same
yeah.
time they were sad that I was not fitting into their expectations and that I'll not be close to
Hmm.
them.
Hmm.
And one thing that my mom keeps saying, whenever I tell some story about what's happening with me, some success I have, she keeps telling me, when I grow up, I want to be like you. And I think this is so sweet.
Yeah, this is the sweetest thing. Like this is the best
Yeah.
thing she
Yeah,
could tell
and
you, I guess.
I
It's
know
like,
she's sad that I'm not there.
yeah,
I know
yeah,
this. I know that she even has more troubles because
yeah,
if we millennials have to deal with this in the very early stages of our adulthood or
right,
just before it, they are dealing with it in the late stages of
right, yeah,
adulthood, right? So they
yes,
have to adapt to this changing world really fast.
yes,
So
yeah,
but what this reminds me every time she tells me this is that even though I feel like I may not be an adult, because of what we were talking before, like my mom would most probably make very different decisions if she was in my generation,
right,
so,
yeah.
and that's validating in a way.
Yes, it's a very good point, and it just sounds like she's very proud of you, and it's such a sweet thing to say.
Now it's like the small like tear down your cheek.
No, no, it's a happy tear down my cheek.
It's a happy tear, yeah.
Yes. Having said that, we are almost out of time for our main topic. Now we'll,
Yeah.
of course, move on to our recommendation section.
So actually, when I was thinking about the recommendation for this topic,
Uh huh.
I was like, okay, I'm not really happy the way this is portrayed, like in films,
Right.
and I don't think they caught up yet very well to this
Yeah.
feeling.
Right.
Um, okay, so instead, I'm actually recommending music. because I really like music, right? So,
Nice.
what I feel is that there is a lot of singer songwriters that
Mm-hmm.
really try to capture this feeling.
Right, right.
And one of them is, she's called, oh my God, Courtney Barnett. Sorry, I
Yeah.
just had a bit of a blank here. Yes, I said it right. And she has this album, is actually from 2015,
Uh-huh.
that's called Sometimes I Sit and Think, and Sometimes I Just Sit. And
Nice.
it's full of this, it's kind of a melancholy, you know. And there is one song in particular that I think it really captures a lot of what they're talking about. It's called Depreston. I think it's a joke with the,
Depreston.
yes, with like Depression Town or something. Anyway, so she's just describing how she with her partner decided to like buy a house and go to the suburbs, and they are like visiting this house, and then she's saying like, you know, now we have like a coffee machine at home, so we can save all like $20 a week and stuff like this, you know. But it's just, so she's singing about this and describing the house, and she's trying to do that thing that like, yeah, I'm totally supporting you on this, but I'm really not happy about it. So the tone is just perfect of the song for this kind of feeling, you know, like this
Yeah.
mismatch. The musical part, it really matches this melancholy. It's a bit of a sad thing, but
Hmm.
I love it. And somehow what I like is that when I listen to her, I don't feel alone.
Yeah. That's the most universal feeling, right? That we just want to know that there are other people feeling like us.
Yes,
And that's
yes,
the whole point of this podcast,
yes,
to tell people that you're not alone. We also feel the same way, exactly the
Yeah.
yeah.
same way. Yeah, very good recommendation. And I also understand why you relate to it. Like two people bought a coffee machine, right? So of course you
Yes.
relate to it. Yeah, but yeah, very good recommendation. Thank you. So Ananya, do you have a recommendation as well?
I have a lifestyle recommendation.
Ooh.
This
Wow.
is for everyone who is contemplating. I was going to say buying a child. Oh God,
You just go to the shop.
birthing a child. Before you do that, maybe get a pet. They will test your patience, and if you don't have allergies, you will also realize if you're cut out for this. Because I realized after getting a pet that I just want a pet for now.
That's
And
as
they're both
much as a
cute, so
commitment.
win-win. You
Yeah.
feed them, they bite you. So yeah.
No, I'm pretty sure Ginny is an angel.
She's not.
So
Uh,
She bit me
yes.
4 times already.
So I have two pets, and now Deba is like uncle to them, right, Deba?
yes, yes, I'm Uncle Deva to them. But yeah, there's a meme going around. I don't know who said this, but there's a meme going around which says pets are the new babies and plants are the new pets. And I really believe that.
Yeah,
So before getting a pet, get a plant. Before
Yes.
getting a plant, like get a cactus. So there is like a hierarchy.
cactus, succulent. Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I
you
once
just
killed an aloe vera plant, so I don't know how Ginny is
Yeah.
okay so far.
yeah. So the thing about aloe vera is that you cannot love them too much.
Yeah,
You
Yeah.
have, yeah, and that's the hard part.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
watered it too much. I don't know how
Yes,
I am a
Exactly.
you have
botanist.
to
Exactly.
ignore them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, guys, that's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you had as much as fun as we did.
You'll find our social media handles in the show notes. Please follow us, send us a DM. We love to hear from you. If you have any suggestions for future topics or something you would like us to change, we would love to know your thoughts.
See you next week. Ciao.
Bye.
As happy as I can be. Whoa, boom,